Mr. Chairman, I am proud to rise here today to speak on this compendium of bills on behalf of the good people of Yamakroa. I rise today strong and considered and in support of this bill or these bills, the Educational Bill 2026, the Childhood Care Commission Bill 2026, and the National Youth Commission Bill 2026. Mr. Chairman, these bills represent a decisive step forward in the development of our national education system. At the onset, Mr. Chairman, I wish to commend and thank the Honorable Minister Glenys Hanna Martin for bringing these transformative reforms before this Honorable House. Having had the privilege of working under her leadership as State Minister in the Ministry of Education, I have seen firsthand her commitment to advancing education in this country and to ensuring that our policies reflect both the needs of our people and the demands of a rapidly changing world. Mr. Chairman, the Minister would have spoken to these bills in its entirety with clarity and depth. My purpose here today is not to repeat that comprehensive presentation, but rather to highlight just a few provisions within this bill, in my respectful view, which are particularly transformative to the education or the future education of our Bahamas. Mr. Chairman, I also rise to contribute to this debate not only as a member of this Honorable House, but as a former educator, as a former school administrator, and as a parent. Not yet a grandparent, certain shores. Those experiences shape my perspective in a very real and practical way. As an educator, one understands that policy decisions do not remain on paper. They are lived out in the classroom, in lesson plans, and in the daily experiences of students and teachers. As a school administrator, one understands the importance of structure, accountability, and clarity in ensuring that a system functions effectively. As a parent, one understands that the provision of this bill are not abstract. They directly affect lives.
Member.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As a parent, one understands that the provisions of this bill are not abstract. They directly affect lives, they affect opportunities and the future of our children. Indeed, Madam Speaker, every parent of a school-aged child in this country has a vested interest in the details of these bills, because those details will shape the educational journey of a child. Madam Speaker, this Education Bill 2026 replaces the Education Act of 1962. Those years, imagine the difference in circumstances and the way we live and the way we work, do business, educate, and learn. And in doing so, it brings our legal framework into alignment with the realities of a modern, dynamic, and globally connected Bahamas. It reflects the national vision of an education system that is inclusive, accountable, and designed to prepare our people not only for participation, but for leadership in the world. Madam Speaker, Part 1 of the bill establishes its purpose, its guiding principles. It affirms that education is not merely a service provided by the state, but a fundamental right that must be accessible to all. It places education at the center of national development and makes clear that our policies must serve not only the needs of today, but the demands of tomorrow. Madam Speaker, this bill addresses homeschooling, and I congratulate the many parents across this country who have successfully homeschooled their children. We have seen the positive outcomes of this method in education, including strong performances in our national examinations. For many families, homeschooling has not simply been a preference, but a necessity. There are parents whose professions require travel and there are children whose health and circumstances require flexibility. In such cases, homeschooling has provided continuity, stability, and success. These are real achievements, and they must be acknowledged. However, Madam Speaker, it is equally important to recognize that this bill does not permit the operation of an unregulated school under the guise of homeschooling. Once a person begins to teach the children of others, they are no longer acting as solely parent practitioners. They are, in substance, operating a school, and all schools must be regulated, establish a clear framework of homeschooling under these laws, requiring registration, structured learning plans, and alignment with our national standards. Importantly, Section 61 empowers the minister to obtain information necessary to ensure that all learners are accounted for and that the standards are maintained. This is not intrusion. This is responsible governance. Without information, there can be no accountability. Without accountability, there can be no assurance of quality. Madam Speaker, what this bill achieves is balance. It protects the rights of parents to educate their children, but it also protects the right of every child to receive a proper education. It ensures that reform in education is matched with responsibility. Madam Speaker, one of the most significant reforms in this bill is found in sections 14 and 15, which require that all schools must be registered and accredited. This is not an administrative technicality, it is a safeguard. The National Accreditation and Equivalency Council of the Bahamas, or NAECOB, makes it clear that all instructions offered or all institutions offering educational services must be registered and must meet the established standards. This ensures that when a parent entrusts a child to any institution, there is confidence that the school meets minimum requirements in curriculum, staffing, and facilities. Regulations, Madam Speaker, is not interference. Regulations is protection. Madam Speaker, Part 4 addresses compulsory education. And here we see one of the most forward-thinking provisions of this bill. Section 21 reduces the compulsory school age to begin at 4 years old. This is a landmark decision grounded in well-established research that the early years are the most critical for cognitive and social development. By ensuring that our children enter structured learning at an earlier age, we are not placing undue pressure on our children. We are giving them the strongest possible foundation for lifelong learning. Education policy, Madam Speaker, is not isolated policy. It is economic policy, social policy, and national development policy. The earlier we invest in our children, the stronger our nation becomes. Madam Speaker, Part 2 provides clarity and structure by defining the types of schools that operate within the Bahamas, public, private, and home schools, and by establishing the stages of education from pre-primary through tertiary. This may appear administrative, but it is, in fact, very foundational. A system cannot function effectively without clarity, and this bill provides that clarity. Madam Speaker, Part 3 addresses administration and governance. It outlines the responsibilities of the minister, the Department of Education, the National Advisory Council. Some may express concern that these provisions strengthen the role of the minister. And I've heard it here today. However, I respectfully say to those persons, do your research. I respectfully say that in a system as critical as education, coordination is not optional, it is essential. These provisions do not exist to centralize power for its own sake, but to ensure that standards are consistent, resources are properly allocated, and that every child on every island has access to functioning and reliable educational system. Section 32 to 36 further strengthens the system by providing a national curriculum and allowing for modern methods of delivery, including virtual instruction. This ensures that education in the Bahamas is not static, but adaptable and resilient. Madam Speaker, some may say that this bill introduces too much regulation. I respectfully say, again, what is described as regulation is, in fact, accountability. In a system that shapes the future of our nation, standards are not optional. They are essential. Some may say that it strengthens the role of government. I say that it strengthens the responsibility of the government to ensure that no child is left behind, unseen, or unsupported. Madam Speaker, this bill does not restrict education. It strengthens it. It protects it. It prepares it for the future. It ensures that no child falls through the cracks, no institution operates without accountability, and no pathway to education exists without standards. It recognizes diversity in how we educate, but insists on consistency in the quality of that education. Madam Speaker, this is not simply an educational reform bill or education reform. This is a national investment in the future of the Bahamas. The Early Childhood Care Commission Bill 2026 operates in direct support of the Education Bill 2026 and ensures that the foundation upon which the system is built is strong, regulated, and capable of supporting every child from the earliest stage of development.
The chair recognizes the honourable member for Freetown.
Madam Speaker, I hereby move that the House do sit beyond 7 p.m.
Thank you, honourable member. It has been moved and seconded that the House do now sit beyond the 7 p.m. hour. As many are in favour, will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The motion is carried. The House will now sit beyond the 7 p.m. hour.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The ministry has consistently articulated its vision of developing an education system that builds on the strengths of every child for national development. This bill gives effect to that vision at the earliest stages of life, recognizing that development does not begin at primary school, but from birth. Madam Speaker, the governance structure established under this bill creates the Early Childhood Care Commission as a statutory body supported by a board and led by an executive officer. This is a significant and necessary reform. It elevates early childhood care to a properly governed and professional managed sector, ensuring that it receives the specialized attention it requires. International best practices makes it clear that early childhood systems require dedicated oversight, coordination, and expertise. This commission provides exactly that. It ensures that policy, standards, training, and monitoring are carried out in a consistent, focused manner across the country. This bill makes it clear that no person may operate such an institution unless registered. It reflects a principle that is already well established in our national educational framework, including through the work of the ministry and the National Accreditation and Equivalency Council of the Bahamas, which requires that all educational practitioners meet recognized standards. What this bill does is extend and strengthen the principle at the earliest stages of education. Registration is not automatic, it is conditional upon meeting clear requirements. An operator must be fit and proper, possessing the appropriate training in early childhood care and education. The operator must demonstrate competence, suitability, and good character, and must not have any disqualifying criminal history. Employees within these institutions must also meet prescribed standards. They must be trained, medically fit, and suitable to work with young children. In addition to the facilities themselves, the facilities must meet requirements relating to safety, sanitation, space, and emergency preparedness. Madam Speaker, we highlight the systems of standard that must be supported by a system of accountability. Importantly, this bill allows for immediate intervention where necessary. Where an institution poses a risk, safety, health, or welfare of the children, the minister is empowered to take decisive action, including and not limited to suspension of operations. These provisions are not excessive, they are appropriate. Because when we are dealing with the children, or when we are dealing with our children at their most vulnerable stage of life, the system must be able to act swiftly, decisively, and effectively to protect them. This bill builds on progress by ensuring that early learning experiences are not only available, but properly structured, regulated, and aligned with national standards. This bill is not designed to exclude. It is designed to ensure that every child, regardless of where they are cared for, is placed in an environment that supports their development and safeguards their well-being. Madam Speaker, when these bills presented today are viewed together, what emerges is not simply reform, but a reimagining of education in the Bahamas. From birth through to tertiary education, we are putting in place a system that is structured, regulated, and aligned with our national development. We are saying as a country that the future of the Bahamas begins with the proper development of its people, and that development begins in the earliest years of life. These bills ensure that no child is left outside the educational system that prepares them to learn, to grow, and to contribute meaningfully to our nation. They move us from a fragmented approach to a coherent, modern, and future-ready educational framework. This is not simply educational reform. This is nation building. And I commend the Minister of Education and Technical and Vocational Training and all members who would have supported this bill here today. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Yamacraw support these bills.